Everybody, welcome back. I'm going to talk about isolation and what's been happening this year in regards to coronavirus and people social distancing, quarantining, self-isolating, whatever you want to call it, and how does this relate to perfume. I'm going to try and relate to you my experience here because here in Melbourne, where I live, we have already been in kind of pretty reasonably strict lockdown for about a month already. I think there's a few weeks left to go at the time of this filming. So what that means is that we're basically confined to home. Unless you're an essential worker, you have to work from home. You can only go out for 1 hour a day of exercise within a 5 kilometre radius of where you live. And there is an 8 p.m. curfew, which means you just basically can't be out of your home after 8 p.m. And obviously it means you can't have people visiting your home. You can't go and visit friends and family. How does this relate to perfume? Well, the other thing that we need to do, that's required, is that anytime you do go outside, you have to wear a mask. So if you go to the supermarket, you go to the pharmacy, anytime you're outside of your home, you have to wear a mask here. And, you just put up with it because you have to do what you have to do. In regards to perfume, there are a couple of insights I've gained since this has been happening. And one of the very first things I've noticed, and especially related to wearing a mask, is that it seems to me that quite a few of my perfumes where I have suspected performance is not quite as I'd like it to be, or not as longevity is not as much as I thought it was, is whenever I've worn a perfume and I've had to go outside with the mask on, I have noticed as soon as I take that mask off, that I can smell the perfume I thought had vanished beforehand. So one thing I've learned from wearing masks in isolation is that maybe it's not so much that my perfume is weaker than I'd like it to be. It's maybe that I'm just getting a little bit of olfactory fatigue with my perfumes, which kind of is a nice segue into the next insight I've gained during isolation, and that is I have really or pretty much lost any kind of putting any kind of importance on the performance of a perfume. And I'll try and explain what I mean. What I do mean is that basically when I've worn perfume over the last few months, the only thing that matters to me is how good it smells. And my routine hasn't changed in isolation to how it was when I was able to leave the house and be around other people. I still, change my perfume at least once a day. So I'll put something on in the morning and then something in the afternoon/evening. So that part hasn't changed. I guess what's changed, and obviously this is on some level a little bit unconscious, is that when I'd like to think that I've never worn a perfume to get a reaction from people. Like I've barely got any compliments ever on the perfume I've worn. And I don't wear perfume to try and get a reaction from people and hoping that they like it. But when I've travelled on a crowded train, I've kind of been semi-conscious of what people might be smelling around me. That still didn't change what I wore on that particular day. I just felt more aware of it. And what being in isolation has done for me, and like my my family, the people in my household, they know I wear perfume, different perfume every day, so they're kind of used to it. So I'm not kind of counting them. But essentially, when I've worn perfume, really for the first time since I've been into fragrance, this is kind of really the real what it really means to wear perfume for yourself. So to kind of get back to my point is that to me now fragrance is only about the smell. I guess I used to put more emphasis on a fragrance lasting long enough on my skin, particularly if it wasn't a cheap fragrance, if it was an expensive fragrance, and I felt like I was missing. I was being undersold a little bit because I felt like I should be paying for that extra performance or longevity or whatever it is you want to call it. But my realization is like really what you should be paying for, what you should be placing value on is how good that thing smells. Now, then it's just a judgment, I think, and I'm only speaking for myself, then it's just a judgment for me to decide whether that smell is worth the price of the bottle, okay? But really, the realization is that it's always smell and a very, 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 very distant consideration is now performance. So that is one thing that's shifted in me. And just on this point, recently, I can't remember where I saw it, some fragrance social media forums, or it might have even been on Instagram, had a poll up, or someone asked a poll question about what was more important to you in a perfume. And the two options were smell and performance. And I'm still actually staggered that anyone would pick performance over smell unless they really didn't misinterpreted the question, because by picking performance you're basically saying it can smell like shit as long as it lasts for 12 hours, but really perfume should always just be first and foremost about the smell. That's how I feel now. I never was like that, but isolation has kind of brought that realization to me. One of the other things I've found in isolation as well is I have been really, in terms of my taste, I've been really enjoying lighter, kind of more ethereal scents, and particularly kind of greener scents. And that has nothing to do with the seasons or anything. We're in the middle of winter here, so under regular circumstances it would be heavy resins and dark woods and all of that kind of thing. But it's not, I've been into fresher scents. I've really appreciated more subtle, lighter things. And I don't know if it's because I've had more of a chance to contemplate those scents more. Like I've had more of a chance to be quiet and still and appreciate stuff on my skin. For instance, in the last couple of months, I've sampled things like Chanel's Bel Respiro, a scent from a couple of scents, one from Jean-Louis Scherer, I think it is. This to me it's not like a light scent, but I'm appreciating more green notes, more subtlety in a perfume's composition. Even things like Guerlain's Pamplemousse, and I've just appreciated more lightness in a fragrance. And just because a fragrance isn't loaded with heavy aroma chemicals or skanky natural oud or whatever you want to put into a beast mode fragrance, it doesn't make it any less worthy. I know a lot of you are watching this and already think this way, but I guess I'm just trying to convey to you what my process has been like during isolation. Now, the other thing too, which is kind of counterintuitive to what I thought might happen during isolation, is that rather than I think I started off a little bit like this at the beginning. I was going online and going a bit, click crazy with buying bottles. But I can happily report that as of today, being mid-August sometime, I forget what day it is, I have actually, from the beginning of the year, reduced my wardrobe in my bottle. So I've managed to get rid of quite a few fragrances which just recently realized that I just don't want to wear anymore. I won't miss if they're gone. And there's still more to come. And I've bought a few, and I've bought some stuff that I love. But even though right now I'm actually in a position I have a bit of cash that I can spend on perfume, which would have been spent on an overseas trip that got cancelled. I haven't. I've kind of. I found it very easy to resist buying anything, and what I have been doing is just sampling a lot more than I normally would, and enjoying those samples and really taking time with them and deciding if I want them permanently, want them always to be available to wear. This is probably a natural progression for me, in becoming more discerning about where I put my full bottle money into. But right now, although I have a small bottle wish list, I'm really in no rush to get them, and I may even change my mind about wanting some of those bottles. Ultimately, though, the biggest thing is that during this time, as much as I do love perfume, as much as I really enjoy doing this, I realize that in the end, it is just perfume. Now, it is just perfume, and it's perfume. Like, it's such a conundrum to me to love something so much, but also realize how little importance it has when you put everything into context. I mean, I'm not gonna stop this. I'm not gonna stop enjoying perfume, but when it all boils down to it, everything needs. I think for me, at least, this has been something that has put everything into context. And yes, I have fear of missing out, like almost everybody else in fragrance circles. It's kind of been a good thing that I've done less perfume social media stuff, because that's also made me feel like I'm not missing out on anything. And ultimately, I want to enjoy what I have. I want to make sure that I really love what I have, and just make that important and not worry so much about what's happening outside. So obviously this is, being in isolation can make you can make you behave a little bit more insular, but it also helps you appreciate everything you have waiting for you when you're going back out into the world, whenever that may be. But I just wanted to share that with you because things have shifted for me on the perfume fragrance front, and not in a bad way at all. I will continue in my reviews to mention things like performance and projection where it's appropriate, but it's going to be way down on my list of important things. So I hope if you watch my reviews, I hope that you stick to watching me, but you should not expect me to talk about performance at any point being equal to how beautiful something smells to me. It might smell like crap to you, but if it smells good to me, I'll tell you. If it smells crap, I'll tell you. This has also made me even more determined to just be absolutely honest about stuff I didn't like on my skin. Not that I haven't been, but I think that there's good and bad experiences, and I have to share all of that with you. Otherwise, I'm not really giving you everything I can give you, if that makes sense. I have a suspicion that I'm beginning to ramble on a little bit now. So I'll take this opportunity to thank you all for watching, if you've made it this far. And I really want to say that one of the best things about isolation is I've had you guys to interact with in the comments and what have you, and I always appreciate it more than anything else. I'm never going to tell anyone to like, comment or subscribe on my channel or videos. If you do, that's fantastic. I really appreciate it. But I know the people who appreciate the channel, and all I can say is thank you from the bottom of my heart. So I'll see you soon with another review or another video, but I just wanted to get this all out. See you guys. Bye.